Okay, so after doing this task, you guys, we got the assignment 1.4, and I'm going to do problem number 1 with you on this assignment. Okay, it says calculate the slope of the line between the given points. Use your answer to indicate which line is the steepest. So number 1, point A is at -3, 7, and point B is at -5, 17. All right. So to find the slope, we use the slope formula, right? You guys all remember this? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Raise your hand if you know this formula. Okay, good. I just wanted to see how many of you. Okay. So what we do now is y2. Which one is y2? It's either 7 or 17. It depends on which point we want to call point 1 and point 2, right? Does it matter? No, it's just that whichever one you use as point 1, you got to keep it that way, okay? So, and which one do you say is point 2? I'm going to call B as point 2. So y2 is 17 minus y1. What would that be? 7, because that's the y coordinate of point 1. All over x2, which is -5 minus x1, which is -3. So what's 17 minus 7, everybody? 10. What is -5 subtract a -3? -2. Because what happens when you minus a negative number like that? It becomes an addition problem, right? -5 plus 3 makes a -2, which is equal to -5. Raise your hand if you got -5 for that one. Okay, next one. Number 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I want you guys to do those on your own. Now notice it says calculate the slope of the line between the given points. Use your answer to indicate which line is the steepest. So what I want you guys to do now is figure out which of those lines out of 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the steepest. How can you tell which one's the steepest? How will you be able to tell? Okay, what's the rise and run of this one? -5 over 2. Now, a negative slope just means it goes down left to right, but it's still steep, right? Has some steepness to it. It's just going the other way. Okay? So, whichever one has the highest slope, right, is going to be the steepest line. Okay? So, everybody, take a minute. I want everybody to do number 2. Everybody do number 2. I'm going to give you a minute to do number 2. For number 2, you guys, you should have had -3 minus a -37 over 4 minus 12. Once again, what's minusing a negative number do? Everybody, all eyes right here. Jordan, all eyes right here. Okay, this is going to turn into a positive 37. And if you add -3 plus 37, you're going to get a positive 34, right? You're adding a positive 37 to -3. It's like having a debt of $3. You make $37, you pay your debt off of $3, and you have $34 left. 4 minus 12 is -8. Now, does 8 go into 34 evenly? It does not, does it? It goes into 32, and it goes into 40, but it doesn't go into 34. So what I'm going to do is I know that these are both even numbers, so what number do I know goes into both of them? 2. How many times does 2 go into 34? 17 times. How many times does it go into -8? 4 times, so -4 times. So I'm going to leave my slope like that as rise over run, -17 fourths. How many of you had -17 fourths for your slope? Okay, now think about this. Let's write this as a decimal so we can compare it to this one over here. How many times will -4 go into 17? Okay, 4 and 1/4 times. So -4 and 1/4 times. Which one's steeper out of these two? Out of 1 and 2? the bigger number is going to be steeper. Okay, well, I mean, this to -5 is actually smaller than that, but when we're talking about slope, a negative just means which way it's slanting, okay? Because positives slant up this way, and negatives go down left to right. But if you took off if you didn't pay attention to the negatives right there, 5 is a bigger number, so -5 is going to be a steeper slope. Does that make sense? Okay, so now, you guys, you're going to find the slopes to 3 and 4. Jordan, I'm talking right now. You're going to find the slopes to 3 and 4. So that's going to be your homework. And then you got to tell which out of those 4 is the steepest. Got it? That's part of your homework assignment. Now, everybody stop doing 1, 2, 3, and 4. Everybody go to the part, that story problem. A lot of times, students look at story problems, I think they're hard. This one's not hard. It's just a big, long story. Okay? Adam and his brother are responsible for feeding their horses. In the spring and the summer, the horses graze in an unfenced pasture. The brothers have erected a portable fence to the corral. Wait, I skipped a line. The corral the horses in a grazing area. To corral the horses in a grazing area. Each day, the horses eat all the grass inside the fence. Then the boys move it to a new area where the grass is long and green, right? The porta fence consists of 16 separate pieces of fencing, each 10 feet long. So you got, how long is that, by the way, in feet? Okay, 160, right? The brothers have always arranged the fence in a long rectangle with one length of fence on each end and 7 pieces on each side, making the grazing area 700 square feet, okay? You're going to go through this. You learned something in that last problem, that problem we did today. This one right here. Everybody's eyes right here. What did we learn when we did this problem? About areas. How can you maximize your area? Make it a square. Did you guys remember that? So this question is going to actually ask you something about that. Look at 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 have to do with that story problem. If you have to read it 10 times to understand it, do that. That's what I want you to do. This is your homework assignment, is to complete this whole thing. And this page is all on that story problem. Okay? Now, turn the page over. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 all have to do with what we call average, or with rates of change. Everybody, in your notes, write this down. Rates of change. Rates of change. Okay, what do we mean? What is it? What are rates of change? Slope. Who said that? Okay, good. Fehrenbacher, what's your first name again? Chance. Okay, Chance says rates of change are slope. He's exactly right. Everybody, right next to it. Rates of change means slope. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is, okay, on some of these problems, especially on the back page, the slopes are curves. The things are curves instead of straight lines. And so what happens on a curve, you guys? What happens on a curve to the slope? What's steeper, down here at the bottom or up here at the top? Let's do it this way. If this was a hill you were climbing, where are you going to have the toughest time climbing? The bottom's going to be the toughest place to climb? Right up here? Right up here. Why? It's the steepest. It's the steepest, right? It's almost vertical climb right there, right? Okay, so the slope changes along the way. In calculus, one of the things they study in calculus is the slope at a certain point. Okay, right up here, the slope would be a line that goes like this through there. Down here, the slope would be a line that goes through that point right there. Which one's steeper, that one or the top one or the bottom one? Top one, okay? That's what they study in calculus. They study rates of change or slope on curves like this. And so it's introducing you to that idea right here, okay? And rates of change, they accelerate over time. They get going faster, they slow down a little bit. So I want you guys to look at problem number 10. Everybody look at problem number 10. All you have to do is look at this one. In your groups, I want you to look at it, comparing linear and exponential rates of change, but these are both, look at f of x and g of x. They are both what kind of functions, you guys? They are both linear. They make lines, right? Indicate which function is changing faster. Everybody talk about it for about 15 seconds in your group. Number 10, which one's changing faster, f of x or g of x? By the way, it looks like they've labeled both of them one line, both f of x and g of x. Let's just say by f of x, that line by f of x is f of x. The one next to that is g of x, okay? Okay, which one of those is changing faster? In other words, which one has the steepest slope? Talk about in your groups. 15 seconds. Go. Check to see if you got the same answer. Okay, have you decided together? Okay, everybody turn to the back page. Look at the very bottom graph. Which one's steeper? H of x or g of x? Actually, it depends on what you're talking about. Look at the gap between g of x and h of x is getting wider down close to the bottom, right? As you go up. That means the g of x is going, it's steeper. But once you get to a certain point where they start getting narrower, which one's steeper? H of x. But look at the questions 16 and 17. That's the ones you have to answer with that. 14 and 15 are like the other ones. Which ones are steeper out of 14 and 15? 14 is f of x or g of x steeper. 15 is p of x or q of x steeper. Okay, so determine that. All right, your guys' assignment is to do this whole worksheet. It's due next time. You're almost done. The story problem. I expect you to be done when you walk in the door. I've tried every single problem. That's what I expect.